Pirro, but we start with President Trump's plan to protect American schools and students following this tragedy in Florida. Let's take a look.
It's time to make our schools a much harder target for attackers. We don't want them in our schools. We don't want them. When we declare our schools to be gun-free zones, it just puts our students in far more danger. Far more danger. Well-trained, gun-adept teachers and coaches and people that work in those buildings, people that were in the Marines for 20 years and retired, people in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, people that are adept with weaponry and with guns. They teach. I mean, I don't want to have 100 guards standing with rifles all over the school. You do a concealed carry permit. And this would be a major deterrent because these people are inherently cowards. If they thought, like if this guy thought that other people would be shooting bullets back at him, he wouldn't have gone to that school. He wouldn't have gone there. It's a gun-free zone. It says this is a gun-free zone. Please check your guns way far away. And what happens is they feel safe. There's nobody going to come at them. This way, you may have, and remember, if you use this school as an example, this is a very big school with tremendous floor area and a lot of acreage. It's a big, big school, good school, a big, big school. You'd have to have 150 real guards. Look, you had one guard. He didn't turn out to be too good, I will tell you that. He turned out to be not good. He was not a credit to law enforcement, that I can tell you. That I can tell you. But as I've been talking about this idea, and I feel it's a great idea, but some people that are good people are opposed to it. They don't like the idea of teachers doing that. But I'm not talking about teachers. You know, CNN went on. They said, Donald Trump wants all teachers. Okay? Fake news, folks. Fake news. Fake news. I don't want a person that's never handled a gun, that wouldn't know what a gun looks like, to be armed. But out of your teaching population, you have 10%, 20% of very gun-adept people. Military people, law enforcement people, they teach. They teach. And something I thought of this morning, you know what else? And I thought of it since I found and watched Peterson, the deputy who didn't go into the school because he didn't want to go into the school. Okay? He was tested under fire, and that wasn't a good result. But you know what I thought of as soon as I saw that? These teachers, and I've seen them at a lot of schools where they had problems. These teachers love their students, and the students love their teachers in many cases. These teachers love their students. And these teachers are talented with weaponry and with guns. And they feel safe. And I'd rather have somebody that loves their students and wants to protect their students than somebody standing outside that doesn't know anybody and doesn't know the students and, frankly, for whatever reason, decided not to go in, even though he heard lots of shots being fired inside. The teachers and the coaches and other people in the building, the dean, the assistant dean, the principal, they love their people. They want to protect these kids. And I think we're better with that. And this may be 10% or 20% of the population of teachers, etc. It's not all of them. But you would have a lot, and you would tell people that they're inside. And the beauty is it's concealed. Nobody would ever see it unless they needed it. It's concealed. So this crazy man who walked in wouldn't even know who it is that has it. That's good. It's not bad. That's good. And a teacher would have shot the hell out of him before he knew what happened.
And with gun-grabbing people on the left bashing the Second Amendment and trying to blame the NRA for the shooting in Florida, well, President Trump defended our constitutional rights to keep and to bear arms. Here's what he said.
Don't be complacent. Okay, don't be complacent. Because if they get in, they will repeal your tax cuts. They will put judges in that you wouldn't believe. They'll take away your Second Amendment, which we will never allow to happen. They'll take away your Second Amendment. Remember that. They will take away, thank you, they will take away those massive tax cuts, and they will take away your Second Amendment. By the way, if you only had a choice of one, what would you rather have, the Second Amendment or the tax cuts? Go ahead. Second Amendment, tax cuts. Second Amendment. I'm going to leave it at the Second Amendment. I don't want to get into that battle, all right? We're going to say you want, Matt, we're going to say you want the Second Amendment the most. But we're going to get them all. There's nobody that loves the Second Amendment more than I do, and there's nobody that respects the NRA. They're friends of mine. They backed us all. They're great people. They're patriots. But they're great people. But we really do have to strengthen up, really strengthen up background checks. We have to do that. And we have to do, for the mentally ill, we have to do we don't want people that are mentally ill to be having any form of weaponry. We have to be very strong on that. So we're going to do that, and I really believe that Congress is going to get it through this time, and they have a different leader. They have somebody that wants to get it through, not somebody that just all talk, no action, like so many of these folks. This is somebody that wants to get it through. We also need to create a culture in our country that cherishes life and human dignity. That's part of what we're talking about. A culture that condemns violence and never glorifies violence. We need to foster real human connections and turn classmates and colleagues into friends and neighbors that want to fight for us. We're not just having a conversation about school safety. You've had conversations, in all fairness, I'm pretty new on this job. We're here a little more than a year. I've been watching this stuff go on for 20 years. The president gets up, everybody's enthusiastic for the first couple of days, and it fades, fades, fades. Nothing ever gets done. We want to see if we can get it done. Let's get it done right. We really owe it to our country. I've been watching for a long time. Seen a lot of words, and I've seen very little action. And you know, if you think about it, most of it's just common sense. It's not, do you love guns? Do you hate guns? It's common sense. It's all common sense. And some of the strongest advocates about what I'm saying are the strongest advocates, I know them very well, political people, the strongest advocates for the Second Amendment. But this is common sense. In addition to securing our schools, we're also implementing a strategy to secure our streets. We want our kids to be safe everywhere they go, whether they're in a classroom, walking home from school, or just outside playing with their friends. Every child deserves to grow up in a safe community surrounded by a loving family and to have a future filled with opportunity and with hope.
Now, also today, the president is making major foreign policy news, announcing sweeping new sanctions against the rogue regime, North Korea. Now, the Trump administration is saying that these sanctions are the largest ever against Pyongyang, and they're meant to cut off money and supplies to the dictator Kim Jong-un, and is using, of course, that money to advance his nuclear program. Here's the president announcing those new sanctions earlier.
I do want to say, because people have asked, North Korea, we imposed today the heaviest sanctions ever imposed on a country before. And frankly, hopefully something positive can happen. We will see. But hopefully something positive can happen. But that just was announced, and I want to let you know we have imposed the heaviest sanctions ever imposed.
And also, the president today listed his many accomplishments, and these are the things that the liberal, mainstream, destroy Trump media never covers because, you know what, it doesn't fit their narrative. Take a look.
For the last year, with your help, we have put more great conservative ideas into use than perhaps ever before in American history. We've confirmed a record number, so important, of circuit court judges, and we are going to be putting in a lot more. And they will interpret the law as written. And we've confirmed an incredible new Supreme Court justice, a great man, Neil Gorsuch. Right? We've passed massive, biggest in history, tax cuts and reforms. It was called the Tax Act, Tax Cut Act, and jobs. We had to add jobs into it because we're picking up tremendous number of jobs. 2.7 million jobs since the election. 2.7. Remember this. Not only did we get the tax cuts, which everybody said we wouldn't get, and by the way, repealed in that tax cut the individual mandate, which is a tremendous point. This is where you're forced to pay in order not to have health care, okay? Is that great? You pay for the privilege of not having health care. So you're subsidizing lots of other people. That's gone. I know people came up to me with tears in their eyes. They're saying, I'm forced to pay not to have health care. It's very unfair. And by the way, we're having tremendous plans coming out now, health care plans, at a fraction of the cost that are much better than Obamacare. And except for one senator who came into a room at 3 o'clock in the morning and went like that, we would have had health care too. We would have had health care too. Think of that. But I think we may be better off the way we're doing it. Piece by piece by piece, Obamacare is just being wiped out. The individual mandate essentially wipes it out. So I think we may be better off. And people are getting great health care plans, and we're not finished yet. But remember, one person walked into a room when he was supposed to go this way, and he said he was going this way, and he walked in and he went this way, and everyone said, what happened? What was that all about? Boy, oh boy. Who was that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be controversial, so I won't use his name, okay? What a mess. But it's all happening anyway. It's all happening anyway. And we've, at the same time, eliminated a record number of job-killing regulations, and people are going back to work. No president has ever cut so many regulations in their entire term, okay, as we've cut in less than a year. We've ended the war on American energy. We were in war. And we've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal. Remember this. Virtually as soon as I got into office, we approved the Keystone XL pipeline and the Dakota Access pipelines, which would never have been approved. We knocked out the Paris Climate Accord. Would have been a disaster. Would have been a disaster for our country. When you look at what's happening to our country, it's incredible. And the fundamentals are so strong. The stock market, I just see with all of the ups and downs since Election Day, is up 37% from election. 37%. It was up 100, up 200, up 1,000, up 150, up 90, up 63. I said, good, that's better. You know, hey, we've got 7 years to go, folks. You know, we got a long time to go. Just in finishing, our country is starting to do very well. Our economy is blazing. Jobs are at a record level. Jobs are so good. 2.7 million jobs created since the election. Unemployment claims have reached a 45-year low. African American unemployment has reached the lowest level in our history. Hispanic unemployment has reached the lowest level in our history. Women unemployment is at the lowest level in 18 years. Wages are rising for the first time in many, many years. Small business confidence is at a record high. And thanks to our massive tax cuts, millions of Americans are getting to keep a great percentage of their money instead of paying it to a government that throws it out the window. So I just leave you with this. We have to fight Nancy Pelosi. They want to give your money away. They want to give your money away. They want to end your tax cuts. They want to do things that you wouldn't even believe, including taking your Second Amendment rights away. They will do that. They will do that. So we have to get out there, and we have to fight in 18 like never before, just the way you fought with us. Just the way you fought with us. You fought so hard, and you were so tough, and you were so smart. You were so smart. And you know what? I know for a fact you did the right thing because we're looking at the numbers. And the numbers, even they have to give credit for the kind of numbers that we're producing. Nobody has ever seen anything like it.
All right, when we come back, the president earlier today telling the CPAC crowd that he's going to build the wall on our southern border and crack down on violent gangs like MS-13. We've got the highlights as the special edition of Hannity. CPAC 2018 continues.
Doctrine to the Fox News Channel every weekend, from immigration to national security and government overreach.
It's people who need to progress, not government.
He's standing up for the American people.
It's important to remind ourselves of who we are.
Don't miss the premiere of Life.
America's News Headquarters, I'm Trace Gallagher. The United Nations delays a vote on a resolution demanding a 30-day humanitarian ceasefire in Syria. Kuwait's ambassador to the UN says an agreement is close, adding the council is still trying to close a gap on when the fighting will stop. The council meets again Saturday at noon. Russia's ambassador says a 30-day ceasefire is not realistic. President Trump blaming Russia, Iran, and the Assad government in Syria for the latest violence there. During a news conference with Australia's Prime Minister, the president called the violence a humanitarian disgrace. Syrian warplanes hitting the rebel-controlled eastern suburbs of Damascus for a sixth straight day. The death toll for the week, now over 400. Mr. Trump says what is needed now is a political settlement reached by the people who live there. If news breaks out, we'll break in. I'm Trace Gallagher. Now back to Hannity.
And welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, the Trump Agenda. Now, the president spent a lot of time addressing the CPAC crowd about immigration. He blasted Democrats and the left over DACA, sanctuary cities, highlighting the brutality of criminal gangs like MS-13, and said he was going to build the wall on America's southern border. Let's take a look.
We're working to get violent offenders off our streets and behind bars, and get them behind bars quickly for a long time, or get them the hell out of our country. In 2017, we brought cases against more violent offenders than any administration in a quarter of a century, more than any administration, and we're just gearing up. We have tough people. I'll tell you what, when you deal with MS-13, the only thing they understand is toughness. They don't want anything. All they understand is toughness. If that ICE agent or Border Patrol agent is tougher than them, they respect him. We got the toughest guys you've ever seen. We got tough. They don't respect anything else. And they shouldn't be in our country. They were let in for years. They shouldn't be. And we're getting them out. Our administration prosecuted more people for federal firearm charges than has been done in more than a decade. And again, we're just gearing up. We convicted 1,200 gang members and nearly 500 human traffickers. You know what human trafficking, who would think that we have this in this age? And with our foreign partners, we've helped charge or arrest more than 4,000 members of the savage gang that we talked about, MS-13. Now, they don't like guns. You know why? They're not painful enough. These are animals. They cut people. They cut them. They cut them up in little pieces, and they want them to suffer. And we take them into our country because our immigration laws are so bad. And when we catch them, it's called catch and release. We have to, by law, catch them and then release them. Catch and release. And I can't get the Democrats, and nobody has been able to for years, to approve common sense measures that when we catch these animal killers, we can lock them up and throw away the keys. In 2017, our brave ICE officers arrested more than 100,000 criminal aliens who have committed tens of thousands of crimes. And believe me, these are great people. They cannot, the laws are just against us. They're against safety. They don't make sense. And you meet with Democrats, and they're always fighting for the criminal. They're not fighting for law-abiding citizens. They're always fighting for the criminal. Doesn't make sense. Here are just some of the criminal charges and convictions for the aliens arrested by ICE. 11,000 charges or convictions for sex crimes, 48,000 for assault, 13,000 for burglary, and 1,800 for killing people. We're cracking down on sanctuary cities. Can you believe this? Where they protect. That's another one. Because we want our cities to be sanctuaries for law-abiding Americans, not for criminals. And by the way, the Senate Democrats and the House Democrats have totally abandoned DACA. They don't even talk to me about it. They have totally abandoned. You know, we get the reputation like DACA, it's not Republican. Well, let me tell you, it is Republican, because we want to do something about DACA, get it solved after all these years. The Democrats are being totally unresponsive. They don't want to do anything about DACA, I'm telling you, and it's very possible that DACA won't happen, and it's not because of the Republicans, it's because of the Democrats, and frankly, you better elect more Republicans, folks, or it'll never happen. The Democrats voted in favor of sanctuary cities. In other words, they voted to protect criminal aliens instead of voting to protect the American citizens. To secure our country, we are calling on Congress to build a great border wall to stop dangerous drugs and criminals from pouring into our country. And now they're willing to give us the wall, but they don't want to give us any of the laws to keep these people out. So we're going to get the wall, but they don't want to give us all of the other chain migration, lottery. Think of a lottery. You have a country. They put names in. Do you think they're giving us their good people? Not too many of you people are going to be in a lottery. So we pick out people. Then they turn out to be horrendous, and we don't understand why. They're not giving us their best people, folks. They're not giving us, I mean, use your heads. They're giving us, it's a lottery. I don't want people coming into this country with a lottery. I want people coming into this country based on merit, based on merit. I want people, and we all want to be admitting people who have skills, who can support themselves financially, who can contribute to our economy, who will love our people, and who will share our values, who will love our country. We have to have great people come into our country. I want people to come into our country. And I want people that are going to help us. And I don't want people that are going to come in and be accepting all of the gifts of our country for the next 50 years and contribute nothing. I don't want that. And you don't want that. I want people that are going to help, and people that are going to go to work for Chrysler, who is now moving from Mexico into Michigan, and so many others. And Apple, by the way. And Foxconn up in Wisconsin. They're going to need 25,000 workers. I want people that can come in and get to work and work hard, even if it means a learning period, that's fine. But I want people that are going to come in and work. And I want people that love us and look at security, and they want you to be safe, and they want to be safe. I want great people coming into this country. I don't want people coming in the way they do now, because I want people that contribute. So this is called the snake, and think of it in terms of immigration. And you may love it, or you may say, isn't that terrible, okay? And if you say, isn't that terrible, who cares? Because the way they treat me, that's peanuts compared to the way they treat me, okay? Immigration. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-hearted, frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried. I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk, and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, surely you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me. Heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
And when we come back, the president, he captivated the CPAC 2018 crowd. We're going to play you some of the can't-miss moments as the special edition of Hannity continues. Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. President Trump, he fired up the CPAC 2018 crowd. He gave a speech an hour and 15 minutes long, and here are some of the best moments. Let's take a look.
I'm thrilled to be back at CPAC with so many of my wonderful friends and amazing supporters and proud conservatives. Remember when I first started running? Because I wasn't a politician, fortunately. But do you remember I started running and people say, are you sure he's a conservative? I think now we've proved that I'm a conservative. Remember this. We've gotten, somebody got on television recently and they said, actually, this is the first time I can remember Trump made campaign promises. He may be the only person that actually fulfilled more promises than he made. I think that's true. I fulfilled more promises. But we have a very crooked media. We had a crooked candidate too, by the way. But we have a very, very crooked media. I will say this, folks. Everything that's turning out now, it's amazing. That's come full circle. Boy, have they committed a lot of atrocities when you look. We salute our great American flag. We put our hands on our hearts for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we all proudly stand for the national anthem. Above all else, we know that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are at the center of American life. We know that. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. Under my administration and with your help, don't forget, many of you were the forgotten people. You were the people that when the polls came out, they didn't know that you existed. The Democrats are trying to figure out who you are because they want to get you back. But you were people. We've had people that never voted, but they're great patriots, but they never saw anybody they wanted to vote for. Then they go to the election. They've got Trump, Pence. They got hats. They got all sorts of things. Trump over here. Make America great again hats, right? So our country is starting to do well. We are going to make it greater, better, safer than it ever was before. The reason is you. This has been a great movement. They try like hell. They cannot stand what we've done. But we're doing the right thing. We're even doing the right thing for them. They just don't know it yet. They just don't know it yet. Even the media will absolutely support me sometime prior to the election. All those horrible people back there, they're going to support me. You know why? Because if somebody else won, their ratings would go down. They'd all be out of business. Nobody would watch. By the way, what a nice picture that is. Look at that. I'd love to watch that guy speak. Oh, boy. Let's see. I try like hell to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in. We're hanging in. We're hanging in there, right? Together, we're hanging in. We believe young Americans should be taught to love their country and to respect its traditions. Don't worry, you're getting the wall. Don't worry, okay? I heard some. Getting the wall. I had a couple of these characters in the back say, oh, he really doesn't want the wall. He just used that for campaigning. I said, can you believe it? You know, I say every time I hear that, the wall gets 10 feet higher. You know that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for everything. You have been incredible partners. Incredible partners. And I will let you know in the absolute strongest of terms, We're going to make America great again, and I will never, ever, ever let you down. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And when we come back, Judge Jeanine Pirro joins us from CPAC with reaction to the president's speech as the special edition of Hannity continues.
Quarters, I'm Trace Gallagher. President Trump met with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull this afternoon. The two heads of state held a news conference discussing the new sanctions announced today against North Korea. The president called them the toughest sanctions ever imposed on a country, and Prime Minister Turnbull gave them his full support. Trump also thanked the prime minister for being one of the nation's closest partners in the effort to denuclearize North Korea. Former Miami Dolphins lineman Jonathan Martin taken into police custody today for a threatening post on Instagram. Martin has faced mental health issues due to bullying in his football career. The image of a firearm seen here, including the name of his old high school, the Dolphins, and the two former teammates at the center of that bullying scandal that rocked the NFL in 2013. If news breaks out, we'll break in. I'm Trace Gallagher. Now back to Sean Hannity.
And welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. Joining us now to react to the president's speech at CPAC, the host of the hit show Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro, is with us. She's at CPAC 2018. All right, Judge, so you got to speak after the president tonight, but to the big dinner, which we're so proud of you. And look, you were there. You saw the speech. The fact that Gallup is even saying that optimism has changed. Rasmussen now has him at a magic number of approval, 50%. Results matter to people, and I think results matter more than noise that we've heard from the last year.
You know what's amazing is the energy in the room when the president spoke was very uplifting. It was optimistic. And it reflects the fact that probably, and as long as I can remember, we have a president who actually fulfilled the promises he made during the campaign. The president was firm, he was funny, he was personal, and he was resolute in making sure that American confidence is up, that unemployment is down, and that the American people understand that they have the right to make a living. They have the right to be able to provide for their families, and they have the right to secure and safe cities. He hit all the notes. He hit it out of the park.
All right, let me ask you, Paul Sperry had a great piece out today. He's a really smart writer in the New York Post, and he's talking about Devin Nunes and the Intelligence Committee and the intelligence community assessment. And what they're looking at is the ICA, including their footnotes, to see if there's any analysis. In other words, was that like the FISA pre-cooked on the unverified dossier? In other words, you have the FBI, the NSA, the CIA. Were they using an unverified dossier in this capacity?
Well, I don't think there's any question that they were. I don't think there's any question that they knew, that they paid for it, that that Hillary Clinton and the DNC were involved in it. And then what happened was they did everything they could to spread it among the media and to use it in a court, one of the most private courts in the country, in a FISA court. I mean,
but here's my question, though. This is a specific. Yeah. But if the intel community itself was using the unverified dossier for their ISA, that's what I'm asking. Did they use it for FISA and for their own intelligence gathering? In other words, they're believing in their own lie?
Of course they're believing their own lie, because if they didn't believe their own lie, Sean, then they wouldn't be able to perpetuate the narrative that they are perpetuating. Sean, we're at a point in American history where if we don't make that sharp turn, then we're headed for the tombs at this point. And that's why people elected Donald Trump, because the narrative and the lies and the playbook has been unbelievable. I'm sorry to say this. Look, I gave 30 years of my life in government. I was a believer. And I am stunned at the lies and at the criminality, the corruption, and the conspiracy.
I never thought I could see this in our lifetime, and especially, going to a FISA judge. I have two judge questions. One is on the issue of not telling the FISA court judge, just a footnote that says it may be political in nature when they knew it was Hillary bought and paid for. And what do you make about the judge that also was the judge in the Senator Ted Stevens case in Alaska? He's now General Flynn's judge. And this judge wants all exculpatory evidence, and he will decide what's exculpatory in the Flynn case to be sent to him. That seems to be highly unusual.
Look, Sean, I said it from the get-go. The idea of a FISA court on this particular case, and there's something called forum shopping. And that means, and when I was a judge, we used to say, oh, we have a wheel. Your name just comes up when it comes up. Nonsense. All right. And the fact that you got Ted Stevens, judge, who's the same one who was signing the FISA, the 90-day extensions based on nothing other than that dossier. And until and unless you give me more evidence, I'm going to say it's based on nothing but a fake dossier. Then what we've got is a problem in the judiciary. And I would have expected a FISA judge to say, everybody, cut it right here. You are not to use the courts for your political agenda. It's unheard of in American history. And these judges, if they're not saying anything, then they're as corrupt as the prosecutor.
Is this judge looking to maybe throw this plea deal out that Flynn made?
The idea that this judge will decide what's exculpatory and what he's going to admit and not admit is a continuation of their narrative. I wouldn't trust him, and what I would do, to be honest with you, and look, generally I trust all judges, but when you've got a conflict, you have an obligation to recuse yourself. You have an obligation to say, look, I've got a problem here. Let me give it to another judge. And I'm not saying that he is or isn't bad, but you know what? When it smells or when there's smoke, there's usually fire.
All right, Judge, we appreciate, as always, you being with us. And you don't want to miss Judge Jeanine tomorrow, 9 Eastern, right here on the Fox News Channel. And you know what? She has a brand new street justice from CPAC, by the way. We'll have more of this.
Watch, Scarborough drops biggest lie of gun control narrative with M16 statement. Joe Scarborough repeated on Morning Joe that the AR-15 used by the Parkland shooter is more lethal than the M16, essentially lying straight to his viewers. Although people could argue the guns are relatively the same, there is one big difference between the two. The main difference between the AR-15, or Armalite Rifle 15, and the military's M16 is the ability for the M16 to be automatic, which means it can fire several rounds after the trigger is pulled, the Washington Post reported. The AR-15, the M16's civilian counterpart, is semi-automatic and the user has to pull the trigger each time he wants to fire a shot. In other words, the M16 would be more lethal than an AR-15 because it could be switched to operating automatically. This is not the first time that Scarborough has made false claims on the air. Earlier this month, the MSNBC host admitted that he made a factual error when he said that Dwight D. Eisenhower didn't have military parades as his dismissal of President Donald Trump's reported plan to hold a military parade, Mediate reported. Newsbusters pointed out another instance in June 2017, where Scarborough lied to support his claim that Republicans were lying. Scarborough reportedly attacked the cuts to Medicaid, saying that it would destroy health care in Trump America. In reality, the Republican health care bill would increase Medicaid spending, but at a slower rate over time. The Morning Joe host also was not the first to lie about gun facts during the latest gun debate. Representative Ted Lieu, Democrat California, admitted to using incorrect terminology for firearms. He used the term assault rifle to talk about the AR-15. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, assault rifles can be set for automatic or semi-automatic fire. Assault rifles have also been banned to the public since 1934, according to Independent Journal Review. One Twitter user pointed out the representative's mistake, and Lieu responded, "I will keep saying assault rifle if I feel like it. I will not let you define what I can or cannot say." The representative explained that he would define the term in statute, but will use assault rifle interchangeably with assault weapon in conversation. What do you think? Scroll down to comment below.